when it comes to demonic spirits, familiar spirits, and all of that, the enemy, everything the enemy does is so strategic, so planned out. He works in systems because he's not omnipresent. He can't be everywhere at the same time. So he has to establish systems that maintains darkness, right? Keeps people in darkness. So you have systems that are over territories, and there are systems over families. Right. So even within a family, I always tell people, whenever you see a pattern in a family, a pattern tells a story. A pattern is telling a story of an altar that is demonic. And that altar has opened the door where familiar spirits can come in. So when you hear stories about, I remember there was this lady who we went through deliverance with. She never knew her mom. She didn't grow up with her mom. And by the time she met her mom, she finds out that the mom was raped. She was raped before she knew her mom. The grandmother was also raped. The great-grandmother was also raped. That's not coincidence. That's not just because they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a spirit there's a familiar spirit that wants to use that to trap the soul. And what I mean by trap the soul is, when the enemy, the whole thing behind trauma, the health of your soul determines how deep you can go with God. It determines your level of intimacy with God. If your soul has been fragmented, if it's bruised, if it has gone through so many scars, if you have, experienced sexual abuse and things like that, it causes you to be trapped in when it happened, and you start questioning, God, where were you? What is this? And it hinders your ability. There's a depth of intimacy that it blocks you from. So then God really has to work and heal you from within. That's why the Bible talks about, I pray that your whole body, your whole soul, your whole spirit be made perfect before the Lord. It literally separates all three. So the agenda of the enemy, whether it's a territory or a family or whatever, it is to see how can he keep that family in darkness. Now the thing, when it comes to families, what a family member does not conquer has legal rights to be passed down. So if your mom or your dad went through, entertained that spirit of, instability, or that spirit of mental illness, because what I think where we miss it sometimes is that we are trying to separate psychology and spirituality.
That's right. Thank you.
We're trying to separate the two, not realizing.
Sorry. Breaking everything.
Not realizing that even the wisdom of psychology is supposed to be connected to spirituality. It's not like, oh, you just have this mental thing and you need medication, you need this, you need X, Y, and Z. Oh, you have schizophrenia, you just need medication, you need X, Y, and Z. No, there are spirits behind this. So the psychology part explains, it gives you simple language for what is happening to a person in the physical realm.
Yes.
So in the physical realm, we have language for this. Okay, so these are the symptoms. This is how you might react. This is what can help suppress it. But there's still another dimension. There's body, there is soul, there is spirit. And so we need to know, what does this also look like? How has this affected your soul? And what is the influence behind this spiritually? So one of the things I think for me, because God opened my eyes spiritually at a young age, I have what people would just identify as mental illness, I could see the spirit behind it.
Right.
I could look at a person sometimes, if the Lord allows it, and I would see that spirit. I remember there was someone that I had been praying for, and right before I prayed for the person, I see this spirit, and the spirit looks like a tornado. Wow. So they're just, and I was like, what is that, Lord? And he says, that is what it looks like when a person is going through mental illness. Their mind is always like in chaos. So even the feeling of anxiety, like everything might be fine, and then all of a sudden you're just going like, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's what that spirit looks like. And so even before they said anything to me, and I started speaking to them based on what the Lord revealed, and they just broke down crying. So we started to pray. It was a very stubborn spirit, but it left the person. Wow.